Good evening, Epiphany Lutheran Church and friends, and good evening, St. John Lutheran Church and friends. It's Pastor David Armstrong-Reiner for both of you here tonight. So Pastor Mary is, she should be in St. Louis right now, having dinner at Red Robin with two of her best friends, Hazel and Natalie, with Natalie's daughter, Katie, who is Sam's age. But she has been back in the Midwest, amidst the cold and the snow. So while we've been enjoying these 70-degree, not today, but these almost 70-degree days over the last few days, Pastor Mary has been dealing with temperatures in the teens at best, with lots of snow. She wouldn't have been able to go out even if she wanted to, but she had a lot to do as she got her mom's house ready to sell here in the coming months. So, but she will be back next Friday with Friday Night Fun Night. Instead, you get me. And I dressed up for you tonight, and I dressed up for you for a reason. I decided to do something a little bit different here tonight. So with it being Valentine's Day on Sunday, and I can tell you with it also being Transfiguration Sunday on Sunday, I figured this was my chance to catch Valentine's Day themes, because on Sunday I'll be dealing with Transfiguration themes and getting us ready for Lent, which starts on Wednesday, and all that sort of fun stuff. So in honor of Valentine's Day, I'm wearing this is in honor of the woman who gives me color in my life, to Pastor Mary, because you see me in a shirt that she gave me, you see me in a tie that she gave me, and even a hat that she gave me, all which shows the color that she brings to my life. And let me tell you, I was pretty impressed that I could dig out a tie, because I have not been wearing ties much lately. On Sundays, you see me in the clergy collar, and if you catch me on other times during the week, especially in these pandemic times, I'm dressing about as casually as possible. So I figure take advantage of it while I can. And even then, I haven't worn ties much in quite a while. But I do have a nice collection of ties. So, but there you go. And it's even though the shirt I think was chosen for me for Christmas, this was a Valentine's Day tie that Pastor Mary gave me with hearts and I love you. And I believe, well, no, oftentimes they're Jerry Garcia's. So, but because we tended to like Jerry Garcia ties and stuff. But so if I could have found that, I would have, but I didn't. Anyway, tonight I want to do something. Now, don't worry, there's some things about Friday Night Fun Night that will always be the same. And with that, Sam's going to provide us a song later. And Christopher's going to come out, and he has his song all picked out, and we're going to hear from Christopher in a little bit. But I know oftentimes you either hear me doing useless information and Pastor Mary doing jokes, but I thought in honor of Valentine's Day, I have a captive audience here that I get to talk and tell you my version of the story of Pastor Mary and I. So here you go. I want to tell you a little bit about the story, because oftentimes, when we tell it together, we'll interrupt each other with our different versions. And when I told Pastor Mary this as she was driving down to St. Louis today, she says, well, I'm going to have to take the time to do my version sometime. I said, well, yes, you will. So I hope she gets a chance to watch this later so that she can approve. And if she does, she'll get a preview of something, but we'll get to that in a little while. So, Pastor Mary is fond to tell the story, and it is indeed true that we met because she had been out, she had just finished her second summer out at Yosemite National Park doing a Christian ministry at the national parks, and she decided that she could not deal with another winter in Chicago, and so she checked to see about doing some classwork out at the Lutheran Seminary in Berkeley, which is where I had started back in 1991. So she had actually moved into the dorm in October. Now, there were things that happened before, before she moved in. I mean, she got to miss entirely in fact, in some ways, sometimes she forgets that it wasn't actually, this is not the person's room that she got, but there was one guy that was at the seminary at the time, and I always found it kind of interesting because I may have even told this story on a Friday Night Fun Night one time. He lived clear on the other end. I was at one end of the hall in this dorm, and he was clear at the other end of the hall. And he had decided, because he had gone to kind of a camp over the summer and been a counselor at a camp, that he decided after a great experience being a counselor at a camp that he needed to go to seminary. I don't think that was the wisest thing, because when he was in seminary, he kept on saying, "Oh, I'm such a horrible student. I can't do this. I can't do this." And we were just like, "It's okay. You don't have to be a great student to be in seminary. It's okay." But he would stress himself out. He would stress himself out so much, that every morning I would hear him in the bathroom because he was giving himself ulcers. I could hear him. I was at the other end of the hall, and I could hear him every single morning. And even though we tried talking to him, finally somebody talked to him and said, "You know what? God may be indeed calling you, but maybe he's not calling you to ministry and to seminary." And so he finally listened, and he was able to go off. I don't ever know what happened to Dave Wallace. So somewhere out there, Dave Wallace is there, who went to seminary in Berkeley in 1991, and I hope he's doing really well, and that he is truly indeed doing whatever God calls him to do. But we know, at least at that time, it was not becoming a pastor. But anyway, that was not why Mary got a room. Mary got a room because there was another guy that was at the dorm that ended up getting a room down in the seminary apartments. And so she had actually moved in there. And even though she was kitty corner across the hall from me, it took like about a week before she actually met me, because I was kind of shy. You get around me and I get to know you. I talk quite a bit, but if I don't know you, I'm kind of a little shy and I don't necessarily say anything. And so Mary, Mary, she gets around and she talks to everybody. So finally it got to the point that there was one night that we were sitting out in the lounge, and LA Law was on. It was a Thursday night, I think, October 10th, 1991. Not that we remember that or anything. But anyway, on that day, all of a sudden, as we watched LA Law and we both sat down, we watched it together, she finally turned to me and she says, "You know what? I haven't met you yet. I'm Mary." And I said, "Well, I'm David." And then after that, we proceeded to talk for the next 3 hours. At least 2 hours anyway. It was 1 a.m. And the only thing that was really funny about that was Mary thought that because of that whole thing, she thought that I was a night owl, and I wasn't. It was just that I really enjoyed talking with her, and because something sparked even at that point. And so as Mary will tell the story, 2 days later was her birthday, October 12th, 1991. And I had just gotten back. A guy down the hallway had gotten tickets to the Cal game. He was a big Oregon Ducks fan. He was from Oregon. And so we got to actually see the Cal-Oregon game at the time. But when we got back, Mary had two of her really best friends, Stephanie and Kim. And so she was going to dinner with them. And so she'd gotten together with them. And she ended up telling them, she says, "There's this guy that I really like, and I want to ask him if he'll go." Now, I didn't know that part at the time. What I knew was that she'd come up to me and she says, "David, do you know of any really good places to eat?" And my parents, who had come up a little bit before that, we had found this wonderful Italian restaurant where I got to try calamari for the first time. And it was great. And so I said, "Yes, I do." And so I told them where it was. And so then she came back and she said, "Would you like to go to dinner for us? It's my birthday." I said, "Sure." And so I went along. And I remember afterwards, we were all sitting in the dorm, Kim and Stephanie and Mary and I were all talking together and talking about all these different things. And it ended up, true confession, I was actually watching a soap opera at the time, Days of Our Lives. True confession, I was watching a soap opera. I haven't watched soap operas for years, nor do I want to watch any soap operas now. But Mary and I both watched Days of, and as we're talking about all these different things, how we like baseball together, everything else, all of a sudden, Kim, her best friend, pops up and she says, "Oh, it was just like the two of you." She stopped. Now, I got to tell you, true confession, I'm a man, and I'm a little slow. But even with my being that slow, I got to tell you, I could fill in the rest of those words were meant for each other. And so inside it was like, ooh, wow, this might be going someplace. Now Mary always talks about the fact that if she had waited for me, she would have had to wait longer. And that probably would be true, okay? Because I kind of move a little slow on these sorts of things. So I passed it on to one of my sons, I believe. But But anyway, even though that may be true, I got to tell you, for all that being said, within 2 weeks, about 2 weeks after this, 2 weeks, okay, 2 weeks after we had actually talked for the first time, we end up, we ended up kind of finding out each other that we really liked each other, and we've talked about that story. We'll make that story for another time because we don't need to make this go all night. But anyway, so that was kind of the start of a whole relationship. Now what happened? What was kind of interesting after that? There was a couple of things that were interesting, because I gotta let you know another thing about me that you may not know is I am like a hopeless romantic. I can really start doing things. Now I could do a whole lot better about getting flowers for Pastor Mary than I do. But there are times that I can do I try to do some romantic things. So one of them I want to share with you from the beginning of the relationship, and another one that just happened on this. So I ended up coming up with something that she ended up being gone. She ended up being gone to her brother Tom's wedding back in the Midwest. And I remember she always talks about the fact that as we talked on that first night, I said, well, I'll probably not call you tomorrow night. I'll probably wait a little while. I'll give you a call in another couple of days. And I called her the next night. But anyway, so we talked every night while she was gone, over that week. And while she was gone, I ended up deciding, this is my chance to be able to send something to her. So I sent 2 things to her. One thing that I sent to her, I like this Danish philosopher, theologian called Søren Kierkegaard, and I ended up finding in the back of one of the books of this like love poem that he had sent to this woman that he was enamored with, but it was in German. It was I had the translation. I wouldn't have been able to read it, but I sent it to her in the untranslated German, so hoping that she would like take the time to be able to figure out what it was. So. And I'm trying to remember if she ended up finding out or if I had to tell her later. But the other thing I did was I wrote a poem, and I decided to hide a message in the poem. I did a little artwork with it. And so Mary has it framed by the side of her bed. So the key is anyway, I wrote this poem. So and I won't read the whole poem to you, but what I did write in the poem is, if you looked at the first letter of each line of the poem, you have on there, it says Dave and Mary on here on the one side, and on the other end, the last letter of the lines spell a sign of love. So it was my way to say I love you early on in the relationship. So that was just kind of one of the things. So this was like this it wasn't a Valentine's Day gift. It was something I sent to her when she was back there, as a way to say I love her. There's so many great little stories about the beginnings of relationships and all that. And, as men always has to learn these things a lot more. One of the more funny things that I can remember early on in our relationship is since we were in a seminary, we lived in a dorm, we ate in a cafeteria. I remember one time that we were there, that Mary, she did this in front of everybody else. She found this catalog. And so she comes up to me in the middle of dinner. And this is like in January. So like Valentine's Day is like coming up. It's like right around the corner. And she comes up to me with this catalog, and she says, David, I just want to show you something on this catalog. Okay, I want to see this catalog here. She says, I want to show you. This is a locket. I just want to show it to you so you know what one is. So, and this led everybody to laugh because they knew, and I knew what that meant. It's like, David, I want a locket for Valentine's Day, which she got a locket for Valentine's Day. But the whole teasing thing afterwards was, I remember a couple of other people saying, David, I just want to show you. This is an engagement ring right here. I just want to show this to you just in case you don't know what one is. So, but that being said, well, the funniest thing was with our engagement. Now, I got to tell you, because so my mom really wanted, our relationship hit it off. Mary was loved by my family, but I had a chance because we're in California, so Mary got to meet my family relatively early. There's other stories about that. But I hadn't met Mary's side of the family yet. So anyway, my mom really was pushing it. In fact, I remember she was saying, I really want you guys to get engaged before the summer. And Mary was like, no, we can't get engaged before the summer because you've got to meet my parents first. And my father would not be able to deal with it if he hadn't met you yet and we were engaged. Although that being said, I do got to tell you, Mary didn't have a phone in her room. This is the days we didn't have cell phones. And I will always remember the first time I ever heard Fred Schwartz's voice on the phone was he left a message for Mary on my phone. And I remember, hi, this is Fred Schwartz. I'm trying to get a hold of my daughter, Mary. If you could have her call me as soon as she can, I'd sure appreciate it. And then there's a pause. And oh, by the way, I just want to be able to say that I'm offering 40 blankets and a mule to anyone who will marry my daughter. Talk to you later. Bye. So that was my first encounter of Fred Schwartz. I didn't have to have any problem with Fred Schwartz, on all of this. But what was funny was as we would go down and visit my family. My family lived just north of Santa Barbara. That we ended up going down to Santa Barbara a few times, especially because my best friend lived down in the area. And Santa Barbara is this amazing place. It's absolutely beautiful, but it's one of these that you can go along the beach and they have all those vendors that are there. And this is Santa Barbara vendors. This isn't just like your normal everyday vendors. These are some like classier vendors, I guess you would say, with their little carts and everything. So as we're going along, all of a sudden I got to tell you that we stopped at this one vendor that's there, and it's a jewelry thing, and so Mary's been starting to talk, and next thing I know, I realized that Mary's picking out her engagement ring. So we ended up being there, and we picked out the engagement and the wedding rings, and so this wedding ring that I have on here was done by that jewelry vendor that was down in Santa Barbara, California. And I remember when she got it, she said, now look, she says, and because we had been talking, by the way, we had been talking about marriage anyway, she said, now here's the thing. Now, the idea that we're getting married, I know that's not surprising, but and we know what the ring is, okay, but you've got to make the engagement a surprise. Whatever it is, you've got to make the engagement a surprise. So when we went back and I finally got to meet Fred and Agnes and Tom and Ted and Tim, the whole family, Agnes being her mom, Tom, Ted, and Tim were brothers. What I remember was that as we start meeting them for the first time, I was going to be over in Kansas City. We both lived over in Kansas City. Mary with some friends. I had a place there because I was doing my chaplaincy experience. But before we actually went over there to start the chaplaincy experience, Fred, we're not engaged yet, but Fred has the engagement party all set for like a month from that time. So like in mid-July, he has an engagement. Now we're not engaged yet. So it was like, not only do we have the ring, and Mary wants this to be a surprise, but now I have a deadline before I'm supposed to get engaged, right? Before we were there. So trying to figure out how to do this. Well, it ends up that one time we had gone to see a movie, and she took me down. We're at the plaza in the middle of Kansas City, and the plaza is just this beautiful place, kind of set like Seville, Spain. And we went down to a Chinese restaurant down there, and having Chinese restaurant, we walked around the plaza, and we sat down by the horse statue that's there, this beautiful horse statue. And Mary tells me the story about the plaza. And the whole thing about the plaza is the guy that built it, he was this rich person that was there. Mary would remember the name. I don't remember the name. But this rich dude in Kansas City, and when I say rich dude, I have a whole bunch of people that might know Kansas City history that are all saying, you don't remember his name. Why don't you know that it's... Okay, sorry, don't remember his name. All I know is that he fell in love with this woman from Seville, Spain, and he wanted to marry her. But she was so attached to her hometown that she couldn't leave her hometown, so she couldn't get married to him. So instead, what the guy did was he built this whole downtown area in Kansas City, Missouri, so it would look like Seville, Spain. So that way it was his gift to her so that she would not have to feel homesick. And so after Mary tells me this story and we're sitting by the horse statue, I turn to her and say, I confess to you that I don't even have the ring with me right now because it's back in my room, but I just cannot let this moment slip away. Mary, would you marry me? So on July 10th, 1992, we were engaged to be married. And our wedding date was set for July 10th of 1993. So that's the story of the engagement. Now let me take this one step further. I'll give you one more story on all of this before we bring in music. I got to tell you that one of my favorite stories as well comes from our wedding. And so I tell you this story from our wedding. And the one thing I would tell you is, first of all, you got to understand one thing about our wedding. We were the ones that were planning it all. We were there in Berkeley, California. It was there. Mary's family was back in the Midwest, so they weren't there to help her. My family was 5 hours south of there. They weren't there to help her. It all went to us to plan out the wedding. So we were a little bit frazzled in terms of getting everything done. I do remember about a month before the wedding happened, when the stress was at its worst and Mary was just going out of her mind, I looked at her and said, Mary, I have one word that would solve all our problems. And she was like, what was that? And I said, Reno, in terms, elope in Nevada. And she took a big, long breath and she said, no, I really want my family there. We can do this. And so we went on. But as we were planning the wedding, and I'll tell you, that in the midst of the planning of the wedding, we were helped out by so many people, so many of our friends there. The one friend that helped us out in particular was our friend Matt. Sam's yawning over there because he's heard this story so many times. No. But this is from my perspective on this one. Matt, you got to understand that not everybody had computers in those days. Matt did. Matt was a computer nerd. Matt had his ideal wedding. He had his wedding service on his computer. Now, please understand, he wasn't seeing anybody at the time. He didn't have a girlfriend. He wasn't even dating anybody at the time. But he had his wedding service on the computer. Not only did he have his wedding service on the computer, he was we called him this liturgical Nazi. Everything had to be by the book. And he not only had his wedding service there, he knew when he was going to get married. So he even had the scriptures planned out and everything. So we asked him, Matt, you do such a great job on the computer. Will you do our bulletin for us? And he was like, I would love to. And I said, now keep in mind, you're going to have to substitute. We're doing things a little different. So you're going to have to do things a little different on us. Okay, I will. So we went through, he had his ideal wedding service. We did all the substitutions that we needed to do on all this. Wait a minute, Christopher. Wait a minute. Hold on. Okay, you can get by. There's Christopher. Christopher will join us here in just a few minutes. We wanted to make sure he didn't trip over things. So we had it all do this thing. So he substituted all our pieces for that, even though he hemmed and hawed on so many of them. And the one thing we did with our bulletin is, even though we listed what the scripture references were on there, we didn't list the scriptures out on there. And we had this one scripture. It was just this great scripture. It was the one scripture we want more than anything. It was from Ecclesiastes chapter 5. It says, 2 are better than one. For if one falls, if only one is there, who's going to help them up, and how are they going to keep warm at night? And a three-folded cord is never broken. So it was just this wonderful scripture that we had on there. And so in the midst of all our things, we realized that our readers needed to have the scriptures. And so kind of last minute, we kind of went to Matt, because we knew he had a Bible program on his computer too. Matt, would you print us out the lessons, please? Please print us out the lessons. And he's like, oh, sure, no problem. Print out the lessons. We took them and was like, Aunt Betty, here's the first reading for you. And I forget who was the second reading. And here is the second reading over there. So we had the readings out on all that, and we did that. And we thought we had everything solved. Now we got to make sure that Christopher doesn't trip over things again here in just a minute, but when we hear him come down. But anyway, so we thought everything worked out perfect until Aunt Betty ended up getting up and reading the first lesson. Okay, let's pause a moment as we let Christopher come by. Come on by, Christopher. go around right over there, okay? Go over there, and we'll have you sing here in just a minute. So, as Aunt Betty gets up to read the second lesson, what we start hearing is not our reading from Ecclesiastes, not the one reading we wanted more than anything else. Instead, we ended up hearing what Matt would have chosen, because, as I said, Matt not only had his ideal wedding service, he even knew when he was going to get married. He was going to get married in Advent, right around Christmas. And because of that, he was going to use the liturgically correct readings for that day. So instead of two are better than one, the Ecclesiastes 5 reading, we ended up hearing Aunt Betty read from Isaiah. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given. And Mary and I are just looking at each other and thinking, oh my gosh, what are our seminary professors going to say to us when we get done with this wedding? We only had a couple of our friends from seminary who came up there and said, we heard your readings. Is there something you're not telling us? And so, but we had a good laugh. And the final part of the kicker of that story was we had a reunion of our seminary class here just over this past summer. And Matt Seeger was on there. And I have wondered, I had actually sent him a couple of Facebook notes asking him questions on all this. But when he gets on, he had missed the notes that I had sent him. When he gets on, as we're going around sharing different things, his one comment he made, and here we are, what is this? It was now 27 years later, is Matt ends up saying, well, he says, I've just been suffering all this long period of time, wondering if the Armstrong-Reiners have ever forgiven me for what I did at their wedding. And we said, Matt, you gave us one of the best stories we ever had. And I remember I finally got a chance to ask him. I said, Matt, I just want to know, after everything that happened on this, I want to know, when did you get married, Matt? And it ended up, no, he didn't get married at Christmas. Says, good, you listen to your wife. This is always a good thing. So, but anyway, by the way, the fact that we survived our honeymoon is actually probably nothing short of miraculous, especially when we had gotten a tent because we had time but not money, so we went camping. But our first night camping, we had a tent, and on the tent, I was convinced it was going to be easy to put up, and it was pretty easy, but I had never put it up before, and it was raining. It was in the Portland, Oregon era, and Mary was just like, what? You've never put up this tent before, and we're doing it for the first time in the rain? The fact that we survived that was pretty nothing short of miraculous on all of that, but I also remember on our honeymoon one time in the middle of the night. Mary's a reader. Mary reads every night when she goes to bed. I've kind of inherited that from her now. But I remember all of a sudden I woke up in the middle of the night and Mary is just crying and sobbing. I was like, honey, what's wrong? What's wrong? And she looks at me, she says, I just finished this book and it's so sad. And it was, by the way, Bridges of Madison County was the name of the book. But I do want to let you know that I share all these stories because in this time in which we celebrate love and we celebrate Valentine's Day, I do all these stories in honor of the love of my life, my wife, Mary Armstrong-Reiner, who you know as Mary. And by the way, I do want to let you know, I said I'm a hopeless romantic and I don't always do good on getting flowers, but I still try to do things for her. And the one thing I've always tried to do is I try to paint hearts. And so I do want to show you that what Mary has not seen yet. And so if she gets a chance to watch this tonight, she'll get a preview of one of her Valentine's Day presents. But this is my latest heart for my wife, some of which was done in the middle of a Zoom pastoral conference meeting because I figured I needed something to keep my mind occupied while I listened to everybody. They all saw me doing it, but anyway. So this is for my wife, Pastor Mary Armstrong-Reiner, the love of my life, and so this is just my way to say, I love you, honey, and looking forward to seeing you back tomorrow night. And I hope you don't mind me sharing all these stories. I've limited some of the stories. We could go on longer, but we don't. We won't. But now for something completely different. We're going to get... Which are we going to have you first or Christopher first?
You want me to go first? I mean, it doesn't matter.
Let's get Christopher first.
You want to get Chris first? All right, let's get Chris.
Christopher! It's time for a song! So, this is your non-Valentine's Day part of the Friday night fun night. So we're going to bring in Christopher, who will tell you, I will ask him and he will tell you what song he has chosen for tonight to sing. This is his choice. Come on, Christopher!
He's got me. Come on, Bubba.
Oh, we'll get him here in just a moment. He'll be with us in just a moment. So, it's all right, bud. Here, come on. You ready to sing? No, don't go that way. Other way.
Come on, Dad. So you fix it? Yeah, I'll fix it. All right.
Okay. Samuel will fix it. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Christopher, what song are we going to sing tonight?
That was Larry Boy theme song.
The VeggieTales Larry Boy theme song. In honor of Valentine's Day, we're going to do the Larry Boy theme song, right?
Right.
Okay.
1 second. Sorry.
So Sam is getting it ready for us. And Christopher, tell everybody what shirt you're wearing tonight.
Buzz Lightyear shirt.
A Buzz Lightyear shirt.
So can you fix it?
Will do. Yep, he's going to fix it, okay?
Sorry.
Got to get to the start of it, right? Are we ready?
Right.
Okay.
Who do they call when Bumblebee bursts in trouble? Who's got the suit with super suction ears? There's no one else in this Oh, you need a hand. He's running on the double. He's on the way. Girl, yellow's gonna run away.
Larry Boy. Larry Boy.
Yep, I'll fix it.
All right.
Second,
you know,
okay,
since Samuel has to fix something for Christopher.
No, I can.
No, fix it first.
All right.
And we'll just take the time. A couple other things that you should know. We both love books. You both should know that one. So much so that I do got to tell you that when we were on our honeymoon, we spent an entire afternoon at what I will claim is the best bookstore in all of the United States, Powell's Bookstore in Portland, Oregon. We had heard about Powell's, we went there, and so we got there and we said, okay, let's give ourselves an hour, we'll meet back here, and then we'll go. And so we met back an hour, and we looked at each other and said, okay, we'll meet back here in another hour, and then we'll go. And so we went, and then we got back after another hour and said, okay, we're going to give ourselves 2 more hours, and then we'll come back here, and then we'll go, which we finally did. But Powell's Bookstore, such a fantastic collection of used and new books in Portland, Oregon. If you ever get a chance to go to Portland, go see Powell's Bookstore. We got to learn about it on our honeymoon, as well as see some fantastic national parks and so much of Canada. One of these days we are going to go back. And now we bring in, from Christopher to Samuel. I made a specific request of Samuel tonight.
Yeah, so tonight we're going to be singing I'll Do My Best. And we really hope you can enjoy it.
I hope I can sing it with you.
Yeah,
I'm
okay,
try.
so it's love, praise, serve, and then we're going to do love one more time, and I'm going to take the harmony, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, right.
I'll do my best. Okay.
All right.
All right.
Love,
I'll love you, Lord, forever. Love, I'll love you, Lord, forever. Serve, I'll serve you, Lord, forever. I'll do my best, I'll do my best, oh, I'll do my best for you. Oh, I'll do my best, I'll do my best, oh, I'll do my best for you. Love, I'll love you, Lord, forever. Love, I'll love you, Lord, forever. I'll do my best, I'll do my best, oh, I'll do my best for you. Oh, I'll do my best, I'll do my best, oh, I'll do my best for you. Thank you, Sam. Thank you. Just some announcements to be able to make for tonight and some prayer requests. I know with St. John's, I know the service will be virtual and be posted up by 10 o'clock on Sunday morning. So please keep your eyes out for that. For the Epiphany crowd, we'll have the drive-in service at 11 o'clock. And yes, I know the forecast is rain. We will have drive-in service at 11 o'clock on Sunday with drive-through communion that will follow on all of that. So please join us for that. And for both of our churches, please know that the Ash Wednesday service will be a virtual service that we'll be offering to you all. So it will be posted up on Wednesday. For both of our churches, I know, pay attention to what Pastor Mary tells you, but both of us, there are going to be Ashes to Go kits that are going to be available to you. Epiphany folks will be handing those out on Sunday for those of you who want them. And if you are not going to be at church on Sunday, please get a hold of me at the church office or on my cell phone and to make arrangements to be able to get you the ash kits. A little ash kit will serve 4 people, so it will serve a household. So it's just our way of continuing to follow through on guidelines and protocols that are out there for everyone. Do have a few prayer requests just to be able to lift up for the Epiphany crowd. We want to continue to keep in prayer Virginia Stenninger. The condition is critical. Prognosis is grim. So we just need to keep Virginia in our prayers, as well as Ruth and Scott, her children, just to surround them with love and comfort and strength during this very, very difficult time. I did get a message this afternoon from Kathy Roston. We've been praying for Alec, their grandson. Alec had surgery today to be able to remove some stuff, some scar tissue and such, because of this collapsed lung that he has. The surgery was successful, and according to what Kathy heard from her son, this should take care of things, and if they hadn't, he could have dealt with another collapsed lung again. So we're thankful that the surgery's gone, and we continue to keep Alec in our prayers and all that. And I mentioned this last night, but we also want to keep in prayer Visma Lasdens, member of the church, her husband Peter. They've been married for 62 years, passed away day before yesterday at the age of 97, I believe, was what Visma had told me. So please keep Visma in your prayers as well. And so, just as we kind of go tonight, just to want to encourage you, guys, let me make a special appeal to any men who may be watching on there. Please remember that Sunday is Valentine's Day. So if you have not done something for your wife yet, you have no excuse. Go do something. In fact, if you go now, you'll even be able to see that some of it's on sale already. I know that because I went out today, but anyway. Hey, just go out there, and in this time that we do celebrate love, in the midst of all this, we celebrate the love of God who has come to us in Jesus. So we want to wish you all a good night, and with that, we just say the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you with favor and give you peace. Good night, Epiphany. Good night, St. John.